KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, serving Guam for 80 years. Matson, gold sponsor of the 2018 Micro Games in Yap. The all-new 2018 Kona by Hyundai, available at Cars Plus. IP&E, fueling excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, located in Tamuning and Dedido. Always open, always local.
Ahead on Primetime, an independent investigation now underway into that disturbing video of a halfway house inmate at GCC. Plus, gubernatorial candidates take the stage before the business community. And Guam DOE says they've cleaned up their act and they deserve to have the high-risk designation removed. Hafide and good evening. Don't sweep it under the rug. The Public Safety Oversight Chair wants answers from prison leaders. This after KUAM's story on Monday showed surveillance video of a halfway house inmate left unsupervised for several hours while on educational release at GCC. The issue forcing her to get the police department and the Attorney General's office involved.
An independent investigation is now underway by the Public Safety Oversight Chairperson, Senator Talina Nelson.
We cannot act as such, and we cannot take things lightly, especially when the public is at harm.
At issue is whether the Department of Corrections Disciplinary Hearing Board properly investigated this incident that was caught on camera. That video shows inmate Alex Castro with a woman he knew at the GCC campus back in April. Clips show the inmate allegedly assaulting the woman, exposing himself, and engaging in sexual acts. The entire incident played out over a 3-hour period, with corrections officers nowhere in sight.
The timeline and that he was left unattended causes great concern for us.
The board has since sanctioned Castro for the incident. He's since been suspended from the educational program, and the college is reviewing the program agreement currently in place with the prison. But the disturbing video has caused public concern. Many question whether or not prison leadership did enough to rectify the problem.
Regardless of whether the woman presses any charges, you see several violations there already. Strangulation is a felony, I believe, and you see like domestic violence. In the videos, there's indecent exposure, aggravated assault, and so even though the woman does not want to press any charges, these are very evident that it occurred, and the law enforcement personnel need to address this appropriately and not try to sweep it under the rug.
On Monday, DepCorps Director Tony Lamarena said the inmate was punished. He's since been moved back to the halfway house at the direction of Warden Alan Borja. But Senator Nelson says there's definitely a gap in the prison's investigation.
You're supposed to rehabilitate, but it is also your duty to ensure that the community is protected. And if you leave inmates unattended for 3 hours, then you're not doing your job right.
The senator said she is working to get the Guam Police Department and Attorney General's office involved as well. For the time being, an internal affairs investigation at DOC is ongoing.
His fate will be left to a jury. Jury selection kicked off this afternoon for Peregrine Perry St. Nicholas. The Bishop of Garden Memorial School teacher is charged with sexually assaulting a 10-year-old student on campus. About 20 witnesses are slated to take the stand once a jury is impaneled. Trial is expected to run 2 weeks long. A tip to police of illegal drug activity in Dedido leads to 3 people being placed under arrest. Romeo Sigua Gomez, Antonio Santos Alano, and Jarek Dino Anas are charged with illegal possession of a Schedule II controlled substance and drug possession with the intent to distribute. GPD's Mandania Drug Task Force executed a search warrant at a home in the Piga subdivision in Dedido on Tuesday after getting information of the alleged drug dealings there. Police found 19 gross grams of the drug ice, drug paraphernalia, and $1,000 in cash. Busted in a stolen car with drugs. 40-year-old Mark Anthony Mayo was pulled over earlier this week in a car that was reported stolen 2 weeks ago. Court documents state he had on him a baggie with the drug ice. When asked about the stolen car, he reportedly said he owned the car for 5 or 6 years. The car was ultimately turned over to the man who reported it stolen because he could identify all the car's markings as well as provide a key that started the engine. Mayo was charged with theft by receiving as a second-degree felony and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. Court documents note Mayo is already in trouble for drug possession and awaiting sentencing. Business leaders got the chance to hear the economic views of the next governor of Guam on Wednesday. The 5 candidates vying for Adelut fielded questions at a forum hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. They were quizzed on everything from raising taxes to their support for the military buildup. Nestor Lecanto reports.
The 4 Democrats, Dennis Rodriguez, Carl Gutierrez, Frank Uggan Jr., and Lou Leon Guerrero, along with the lone Republican, Ray Tenorio, took to the stage at the Hilton to answer mostly business-related questions. For example, what would they do to reduce the size of government?
We've offered $51 million in reductions in cuts. Those cuts come from eliminating deputy director positions, director positions, consolidating agencies from 52 agencies to 9 agencies.
We got to take care of the core responsibilities of what government was instituted in the first place for. And then we study it. Nobody knows where the finances are or what they are because everybody's blaming each other. I'm going to go in there and ascertain that first and see what's for real so that we can get down and really prioritize.
We have a public-private partnership in many respects. Look at the independent power producers, the Guam Power Authority. Look at the privatization of GTA. Can this be emulated in other areas? Absolutely. But it's got to be something that's done thoughtfully, intelligently, and carefully, because there's negative, sometimes, consequences for unintended consequences if you don't think it out well.
The Government Priorities Act of 2018. In now Public Law 34-87, that same provision outlining that in fact education, public safety, and healthcare are priorities of this government and have to be funded first and foremost before anything else. That is a tool which removed the impediments of other laws that restricted the governor and tied the governor's hands.
This question is aimed at how can we decrease cost and live within our means. I'll tell you how. 1, we need to look at the processes of every job function that there is in the government. Why? Because if we look at the processes, understand the steps, decrease the steps, what do we get? We get efficiency, we get cost reduction, and we get improved services.
Discussion also included how would they resolve the chronic budget shortfall at the hospital and whether they favor a transition from a gross receipts tax to a sales tax. You can catch the entire 2-hour-long forum on our website, KUAM.com. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
The Rules Committee met Wednesday to set the agenda for the next legislative session. It's not clear yet when it will be called, but Speaker B.J. Cruz is pushing to get a pair of tax bills and his budget bills onto the agenda.
Bill 314, which is the hotel occupancy tax, 315, which is the business privilege tax, proposed substitute bill 237, and the budget bill, bill 323. As soon as I get enough signatures on those 4, I will file it with the committee, and we'll be making the motion on the floor for their inclusion on the agenda.
Cruz says there is an urgency to get a budget bill passed so agencies can respond to whatever funding they'll be allocated. Meanwhile, the Rules Committee placed 7 other bills on the agenda. Just ahead on D18 tonight, we have another group of senatorial candidates ready to take your questions. Nestor Lecanto will be your host alongside Republican candidates Julius Santos and Senator Mary Torres and Democratic candidate Clint Rogel. Be sure to check it out on our Facebook live stream. Put your questions in the comment section so we can ask them on air. Stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
There are more ways to experience KUAM News than any other source on Guam. Download the KUAM News app for your Apple or Android device for 24/7 news, sports, videos, weather, streaming with KUAM radio, and important news alerts. And stay connected at home with Guam's first app for Apple TV. All available now from the App Store.
A simple handshake. That's all Jake Calvo needed when he started his company. Today, 80 years later, we like to say thank you to all of you who have taken our hand in trust. Thank you to the dreamers. Thank you to the realists. Thank you to the family-oriented. Thank you to the entrepreneurial. Thank you to those climbing the corporate ladder. And to the ones starting a new life together. Thank you to the traditionalists and the edgy, to the young at heart and the old souls. Thank you to the daring, to the protective, to the practical. Thank you to the hopeful. To all of you from all of us, our deepest, happiest, and infinite thanks.
80 years here for you. 80 years thanks to you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
As a nurse, I cared for thousands of patients at their time of greatest need. I know how important it is to have our only public hospital accredited. With your help, Josh and I will change our island's approach to healthcare. We will reduce insurance costs, make sure there are enough beds at GMH, better utilize public health centers, and invest in the latest technology. We will get the job done. I'm in to help get us there, and I humbly ask for your vote.
I'm Lilian Guerrero, and I approve this message.
In this divided world, there are still things that unite us. Great music, thrilling games, and the love for that perfect burger. Ruby Tuesday Guam, for the love of burgers menu. For a limited time, get an amazing burger for just $11.99. Lunchtime at Ruby Tuesday Guam.
Summer is here, and at Cars Plus and Mighty, that means big saving during our summer clearance event. Right now, save up to $8,000 on select 2018 Ram 1500 SLT Crew Cab, or save $3,250 on a 2018 Chrysler Pacifica. Voted Family Car of the Year. 1.99 APR financing is available for qualified buyers. Plus, buy today and receive a Cars Plus value card, where you get 21 cents off per gallon at all Shell stations. Don't miss our summer clearance events going on now at Cars Plus and Mighty. Cars Plus, driven by you.
There are more ways to experience Guam via KUAM News, giving you what you want, when you want, and how you want it. From smart devices, Alexa, what's in the news?
Here's your flash briefing.
Over the web, on mobile, on streaming platforms, with immersive, interactive formats, and via social media where it's more than just content, it's conversation. More ways to keep you informed and entertained whenever you want it, wherever you are, on whatever device you're using.
Hafa and welcome back. Millions of dollars in federal funding, but heavy restrictions. Guam education officials say they've cleaned up their act and deserve to have their high-risk designation removed. Doing so would put more dollars in the classroom for learning rather than a middleman. Carmen Terlahi reports.
It's been a back and forth between Guam and U.S. DOE. For the second time this year, Department of Education Superintendent John Fernandez and GEB Chairman Mark Mendiola traveled to the nation's capital to urge U.S. DOE officials to remove GDOE's special conditions and, quote, high-risk status. The designation was first given in 2003 due to poor accountability of federal funds.
I was very frustrated with the meeting that we had, because it's very clear that there isn't a very well-established roadmap for getting off of these special conditions.
It's never been done before. Officials say Guam and the Virgin Islands are the only territories with this designation. So far, there's agreement that Guam DOE is making progress. But the most recent letter sent by the feds in June says otherwise. In a nutshell, GDOE must pay their third-party fiduciary, Alvarez and Marsal, $2.5 million a year in order to get their $60 million in federal funds annually. The cost adds up. Superintendent Fernandez says officials are aware of the possible budget shortfall, but that shouldn't be a factor.
You can't use this argument that, well, the government might be short of cash. How's that going to impact your? You say, look, that's an extraneous factor, and every state has will have similar situations if they're going through a budgetary crisis or they're having elections. You can't use these special factors to influence your decision about our special conditions.
The ball is now in U.S. DOE's court. Reporting for Guam News Network, I'm Carmen Victoria Terlahi.
GPA's proposed new 180-megawatt power plant in Dededo takes a big step forward. The CCU approved the bid specifications for the project at a meeting on Tuesday, but not before a spirited attempt by Commissioner Simon Sanchez to include a clause to allow GPA the flexibility to finance the project if it saves on interest costs.
A loan costing 1% more than GPA financing would increase ratepayer financing costs $26 million net present value. Annual debt service by $1.7 million for 25 years. This $26 million in additional interest is equal to 10% of the entire loan we're borrowing. We would be we would be risking that ratepayers would pay 10% more for a $250 million loan if the winning bidder's interest rate was 1% higher than our financing costs.
GPA is seeking a partner to build, operate, and transfer the new power plant. Under the BOT, the CC requires the winning bidder to assume any financing costs, which Chairman Joey Dueñas says mitigates GPA's risk. He and Sanchez disagree.
It's the mortgage that I'm trying to mitigate the cost. It's the financing cost that we will have to pay no matter what happens. We have to pay it, all right? And for us not to have this flexibility creates unnecessary risk.
Some of our bidders could finance this out of their own equity. They would include a price. We don't know what that is. I think the biggest concern I have, and I just have to state this for the record, is you use a lot of supposition and might, maybe, and we go through all of that. But the certainty is, with the BOT that's already been adopted and approved, we have got something that we know for sure.
Only Sanchez voted against the bid package, citing the lack of financing flexibility. It still requires Public Utility Commission approval. The Port Authority Board met today to discuss improvement projects to port grounds. Also discussed was the agency's sponsorship of the GovGuam Mag Pro Awards. Board members approved the sponsorship of a few $1,000s, saying the port was one of the few government agencies not in a, quote, cash crunch. Port GM Joanne Brown was also recently detailed by the governor to assist GMH management, and today she received the Port Board's blessing to do so. Brown will maintain her leadership duties at the port. The board then went into executive session to discuss the case of former port employee Jose Guevara. However, details of that discussion could not be made public. Guevara was one of several port workers fired in 2012, accused of being involved in a scheme to defraud the government and then cover it up. The Supreme Court upheld the Civil Service Commission trial court's decision that Guevara should have been reinstated at the port based on a technicality. With regional headlines, here's KSPN 2 News.
Half a day, Guam. Here's what's making news in the CNMI. The Office of the Public Auditor conducts a performance audit of the Department of Public Lands Management of land leases and temporary permits. In this report, OPA commends the agency's recent work, but also finds insufficiencies. KSPN 2 speaks with DPL Secretary for more details.
The Office of Public Auditor had commissioned an audit, and they started their entrance within the department in March 2017, and only in May 2018 was the department given a draft audit.
Receiving this report from the Office of the Public Auditor, Department of Public Land Secretary Marianne Concepcion Tergezu says in June 2018 they issue a 19-page rebuttal plus 240 pages of attachments.
The rule is documentation all the time, and we issued, like I said, 240 pages of attachments on some of the citations that were done, but unfortunately the letter from the public auditor of July 17, he indicated that the audit remained unchanged.
The audit as it stands as of July 17th found that DPL did not have sufficient internal control in place to effectively manage public land leases and permits, specifically pointing at DPL for not adopting an updated comprehensive land use plan, not producing billing records, accurately assessing fees, and failure to keep reliable records. And DPL says this is unfair because of this reason.
A lot of the citations that occurred were outside of their realm. The scope of the audit was from October 2014 through March 2017. Some of the citations occurred in 2002, 2003, 2004.
As these citations and previous lease issues are outside this time frame. And in DPL's response, they make this clear.
When the audit was issued to us, it really generalized everything and every citation under DPL. And like I mentioned earlier, the previous years were under Mariana's Public Lands Authority. And so one of our main responses to the public auditor is these references for these citations should appropriately indicate which agency it was at the time.
Though despite this, the audit report does commend DPL. Watch these top stories and more at SaipanTV.com. For KSPN2, I'm Adriana Cotero.
This year's Liberation Parade and Festival might have been a hit or miss with participants, but it wasn't short of eco-warriors spreading the word to recycle. Here's this week's Think Green.
As the crowds took in the celebration, one woman spent Liberation Day cleaning the streets of litter. For more than a decade now, Peggy Denny, administrator of the iRecycle program, has been hard at work cleaning up the Liberation Day parade and carnival. The Guam Chamber of Commerce and GCC's eco-warriors each doing their part to get these mesh wire bins set up along the parade route.
They made almost 235 wire mesh bins that we placed along the parade route for aluminum cans and plastic bottles. And we really did a good job, but there's so much more we could do because I know that cans and bottles ended up in the trash.
Buckets of trash recycled. Denny says community awareness is growing.
I think we filled over half full the 10 cubic yard bin roll-off for aluminum cans, and definitely more than that for the plastic. So we're making progress.
Progress she hopes continues into future Liberation Parades as participants join in on the fun.
I would love to see it grow and be resurrected into something even better, especially for the 75th year. But reduce the trash, eliminate styrofoam. You know, that would have such a huge impact.
If you want to help make a green impact, iRecycle is looking for anyone interested in helping them to get new bins they could roll out throughout the island. Just call Peggy at 483-9415. For this week's Think Green, I'm Mia Aguilar.
Sports is next, but first, your island weather.
Make every day a plus.
Mary and Mark said they'll meet us there at 8 o'clock, okay? What are you doing, hun?
I gotta be the faster draw tonight. They beat us to the bill last time, and we missed out on the 3% cash back. I got the skills to pay the bills.
This summer, the Bank of Guam Visa credit card gives you 3% cash back on all purchases. It's an offer so good, you'll be competing to pay the bill.
Your check.
The Visa credit card with 3% cash back this June, July, and August. Only at Bank of Guam. Terms and conditions apply. Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, member FDIC.
KUAM Sports is presented by Triple J.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. It's official. Our men's and women's national basketball teams are gold medalists. I'll get to that in just a bit. But first off, some fundraising news on Special Olympics Guam. Check it out. Special Olympics Guam and DISID Integrated Bowling Tournament is this Saturday at Central Lanes Bowling Center in Tamuning. Showtime is at 11:30 in the morning with a cost of $300 per 5-man team.
One of those team members must have a disability. If they can't find a team member with a disability, then we will provide that team member for you. Or if you just want to sponsor a team and can't find the people, we'll also provide the people for you to sponsor.
Proceeds to benefit Special Olympics Guam. For more information, contact Marlon Molinos via email at marlonmolinos@gmail.com or call 486-4662.
This fundraiser is basically to help with the Special Olympics bowling program, which starts August 4th and tournaments on September 29th. So this will go towards paying the games that we will play during our practices.
Winning teams will receive cash prizes for first, second, and third place. Bowling will run from 12 to 4 in the afternoon. Anyone interested in volunteering as a coach for the upcoming bowling event is encouraged to come out Saturday morning.
If you guys are also interested, we're also having our coaches training that morning. And bowling starts August 4th and will run all the way till September 29th.
Mission accomplished for the Guam national basketball team program. In a must-win trip to the Micronesian Games in Yap, both teams successfully defended their gold medals. Guam needed to win the competition in order to make a run at the 2019 Pacific Games podium. The men's team are defending gold medalists, while the women's squad look to continue to build momentum heading into training camp for the Pacific Games. Our women's national team beat Republic of the Marshall Islands in the gold medal game last night, 62-38. Joylyn Pangolina led the way with a team-high 15 points. Destiny Castro finished the game with 14. Mia San Nicolas added 10. Congrats to Callie Beneventi and Destiny Castro for making the all-tournament team. Our men's team also beat out the Republic of the Marshall Islands in the finals, 86-72. Big man McKelly Wesley put up a team-high 22 points. Ben Borja added 15, while Will Stinnett chipped in with 12 points. Local female surfer Irie Fitzgerald had a great showing in a recent surfing competition held in Japan. She placed second in the NSA Onjiuku Surf Meet Women's Shortboard category in foggy cold conditions. Irie competed against the top 3 women's NSA Japanese competitors. Fitzgerald entered the World Surf League Junior Pro WSL Junior Billabong Challenge in Shonan, Japan a few weeks ago. In another surf comp, Irie made it to the finals and placed third, facing NSA and WSL top 5 ranking girls in her class. During the award ceremony, pro big wave surfer Shane Dorian presented the trophy. Irie's family would like to thank Fuckeye Fem, Lotus Surf, Guahan Napu, and the island community who continues to support her endeavors. Next on the horizon is more top-level competition in Hawaii. Well, that's going to do it for sports. We're back right after this.
We're celebrating our 135th anniversary today, both in the outlying regions on which we hub and also here in Guam itself. It means so much to our team here in Guam. It means a lot to us in the Matson management team, because what it says is we're here to stay. It's a real physical